Hello everyone and welcome back to another Big Ambitions video. I've kinda grown to love this mini-series of factory tests and I like to think you guys enjoy it too. If you've just joined and have absolutely no idea what we're doing here, it's pretty simple. We're testing factories in 0.9 with the main goal of seeing how profitable they really are. And as a secondary prize, we're checking if one factory can supply multiple stores, because that's the dream at the end of the day. We don't have that many factories left to test, which is a good thing, because goddamn these videos take a long time to make. But before we get to the juicy stuff, we need to fix something first. When we did the diamond factory test, I thought the factory would be a lot bigger than it was, so I rented the wrong size. In the end, I wanted to repurpose the building for something else anyway, which means transportation time. I wasn't just gonna leave the machines behind, so the good news is that you can pack them into boxes even if they still have products inside. Thanks devs. This was also the first time that the large trunk capacity of this vehicle actually mattered. I managed to shove everything in there. Our new Diamond Factory 2.0 was completely empty, and since we are at what I call a comfortably rich state, I called our so-called friends at Stonegood Architecture and asked them to extort me one more time. Luckily this time we only paid 2.6 million, nowhere near the 6 million we paid for the electronics store, so I was almost happy. With the new factory in place, it was time to unload the car and expand the production line a little. But my OCD didn't let me breathe until I pushed the machines closer together. They took just too much space and I just couldn't. Unloading was easy, putting everything back together wasn't. Because all machines had unfinished products inside, I had to kinda match each input station with the correct cutting and polishing machines, and it was my first ever factory move, and honestly I enjoyed it. And yes, I know, the old factory still has a lot of raw materials. I tried moving them with the truck, but there was just so many boxes it wasn't worth the time. You know that story about Bill Gates not bending down to pick up $100 because he earns more than that in the time it takes for him to pick it up? Yeah, well, that was pretty much me. Except instead of $100, it was like 5 million boxes of diamonds. So anyway, we also added a truck to the factory and re-added the delivery routes. And yes, I went back just to stare at the animations again. Don't judge me. Now it's time for something bigger. We ticked off a lot of factories by now, and the list is getting smaller, but that doesn't mean the next factory should be small. In fact, I wanted one of the largest spaces possible, and luckily we still had a 2,610 square meter beast available for rent. A Q2 layout, loading bays on the edges, and a giant open floor in the middle. It was just perfect. And this would become our drinks factory. Anything drink related goes straight in here. Since I already have a fantastic and totally not financially abusive relationship with Stonegood, I called them again and asked for a liquor factory setup. This time they actually showed mercy and only charged me 2.4 million. I mean, come on. And 24 hours later, right at the entrance, here we have the tobacco machines. Inside we have the alcohol machines pretty much everywhere, and this setup is definitely complicated, second only to electronics. It was time to handle the boring part, logistics and employees, and up until today we were pretty lucky. We only had 2 purchasing agents and they were enough for every factory. But with the drinks factory, there was no chance. We needed a third one specializing in drink ingredients. Plus, we needed more factory workers, so we had to expand the HR manager fleet again, and eventually drivers, customer service agents, cleaners, the whole circus basically. When the materials arrived, the workers jumped into action. Everything looked organized until I noticed one segment wasn't producing anything. And at first I thought the materials hadn't arrived, but no, turns out the input station was just too close to the machines, and it blocked the employee from moving. I honestly didn't think this could even happen, especially since this was installed by the interior firm. I thought they were the golden standard. So if you do use Stonegood Liquor Blueprint, keep this in mind. I'm pretty sure it's just a bug on the blueprint upload rather than intentional, but still, $2.5 million should not come with layout problems. Anyway, moving on, a fun, unfun discovery. You can't add factory layouts to an existing installation if you're using the interior installation firm, which is why I chose the liquor factory first. It's the most complicated. But now, we had to install the coffee, croissants and sodas manually. The delivery arrived and I couldn't be bothered to walk all the way across the warehouse, so I drove there. Yeah, you can do that. And it's hilarious, and I love it. I had zero blueprints, zero guidance, and zero experience with coffee machines or coffee anything, so I tried connecting things together using logic. That's dangerous, I know. And eventually I realized the machines are actually a two-stage process, even though they're listed in the blueprint as together. But anyway, one stage brews the coffee, and then the second stage turns the brewed coffee into cups that you can actually sell in your store. The cup making stage works really well with splitters. You just need one input, one output, and then 4 bottling machines, and you're good to go. They're quite fast as well, so production time is pretty efficient. We still had space to squeeze in the croissant dough machines, the bakers, and the soda machines. It was pretty much a tight fit, like playing a little bit of Tetris here, but it actually worked. And I managed to find just enough space in between the large pallet shelves. As the factory grew, our magical autofill button for scheduling workers started struggling a bit. Like, really struggling. My PC is not slow, by any means, but the amount of time this loading bar takes, at this very moment, it was just ridiculous. It's just that the factory is basically a small town nowadays, so it takes significantly longer to do its job. By now, the drinks factory was packed and working fast. So it was time to open the stores. Unfortunately, even by day 211, the game still refused to give me a good building in Midtown. So I had to expand into Garment District instead, and I found a 75 square meter spot with 48 traffic index, and it was perfect for a small coffee shop. Then I found a matching 75 square spot in Hell's Kitchen and opened a liquor store there too. Christian Bahud handled the decorating for both stores for just under 150k, which was also pretty amazing if you ask me, and I wanted the shops to be set up properly. So coffee alone wasn't enough, and we added soda and croissants too. They're part of the blueprint anyway. Again, all with manual assembly and no instructions. The factory was filling up pretty fast, so the final challenge was scaling the coffee side. One brewed coffee takes 9 minutes to produce. The machine is huge, cumbersome, and it takes a lot of space. And one machine is plenty for a tiny shop, but not for a 1,000 square meter monster. So I added a second machine, did the rescheduling because we needed more employees, waited another 5 minutes for the loading screen to load, and then I realized 2 machines weren't enough either, so I added a third one and redid all this process. I watched the autofill loading bar twice, at least. Anyway, finally, everything was done. And yes, the factory sound at full capacity is basically something special. Check this out. Before we dive deeper, if you've made it this far and haven't run away yet, maybe give that like button a gentle tap. These videos take ages to make, so your support means a lot. I left the simulation running for 18 days, and what can I say? Some things happened, some I expected, and some absolutely amazed me. So let's start with the elephant in the room, the giant column on the left. First place goes to Battery Anxiety, our 1,000 square meter electronics store in Lower Manhattan. This thing printed $6.8 million in just 18 days. Basically doubled since opening, which is absolutely ridiculous to me. The second place goes to our clothing store in Murray Hill, another 1,000 square meter monster with $3.2 million generated, which is around 1 million more than in our last video. The third place goes to our other 1,000 square meter clothing store in Lower Manhattan, holding strong at $1.5 million, same as last time. Fourth place goes to our small 75 square meter jewelry store in Midtown with a clean $1 million, also doubled since last time. And our fifth place goes, to no one's surprise, to our second jewelry store in Murray Hill, another 75 square meter shop hitting $800,000, which also doubled since last time. At this point, the bigger stores weren't just winning, they're pretty much running away with it. I mean, I felt a bit bad for even continuing. But anyway, here we are. So sixth place goes to our 285 square meter fast food restaurant in Murray Hill with just over $500,000, about $200,000 more than in last video. So that's pretty respectable. Seventh place goes to one of today's stars, actually, Liquid Love. the 1,000 square meter liquor store in Lower Manhattan with $400,000, which is actually not terrible but not amazing either. It's very middle of the pack. 8th place goes to Coffee Time, our 1,000 square meter coffee shop in Lower Manhattan. It made $250,000, which was pretty much expected and didn't surprise me at all. Like, come on, it's a coffee shop. You're not gonna be a millionaire from just one coffee shop, right? 9th place goes to our second fast food spot in Midtown. This brave little 225 square meter underdog generated $150,000. 10th place goes to our small liquor shop in Hell's Kitchen with $100,000. And the 11th place, which is our last place, is proudly claimed by our tiny 75 square meter coffee shop in the Garment District at just $55,000. By this point, I genuinely felt like a boxing announcer introducing fighters in the corners, because some of these properties, some of these stores are absolute beasts, and some are, well, just there for like morale support, I guess. And honestly, this is exactly what I personally expected, because coffee shops and liquor stores are early game businesses. They're pretty light and cheap and simple to make, and they make money slowly. And if you go in expecting millions out of these shops, you're setting yourself up for a heartbreak. So, with the placements out of the way, let's talk about the real question, ROI, because that's important as well. So, Drinks Factory setup cost us $2.7 million in total, as the $2.4 million for the interior installation firm, plus around $327,000 for the coffee, croissant, and soda machines. So across the 18 days, the drinks-related businesses generated $500,000 from the 2 liquor stores, and then $305,000 from the 2 coffee shops. So together, that's $805,000, which works out around $44,700 per day. That means the entire Drinks Factory pays itself off in just under 60 days, so about 2 months. And that's pretty much what we've seen for the majority of the factories. However, if we break it down further by individual factory, or individual product better said, liquor stores alone would need around 97 days to recover all the investment, and then coffee shops alone would need around 159 days to recover the initial investment. So clearly, neither of them is a superstar on its own. But together, they form a pretty decent and stable revenue engine that actually pays itself off way faster than expected if you're, individually taking them. But come on, let's be honest, they're not electronic store level monsters, but they're pretty reliable and they do the job. And if you're in that stage of the game where you just started or you don't have that much money and you want to create something for yourself, you could rent out a small factory, build it up with the necessary materials. Do not use interior installation firms if you're just starting out. Just buy the damn things yourselves, because otherwise you're gonna run out of money very quickly. And then, of course, they will start to slowly generate some profits. I guess the purpose of these different stores that are not that strong is to just kind of pump in some revenue into your pocket until you reach that comfortable point where you can afford an electronics store or a clothing factory, something that is more substantial. Like I said, coffee and liquor stores are not endgame businesses and they won't turn you into a millionaire anytime soon, but they are great early game stepping stones with a low setup cost and easy profitability. And if you want something steady while you save for the big producers like the electronic stores, this is a solid path. But wait, hang on a second. We talked about profits and everything sounds great, but what about expenses? And as I mentioned earlier, this drinks factory basically required us to employ a small town. So it should come as no surprise that our expenses chart also shifted pretty dramatically. Looking at the yellow bars here, wages alone hit $2 million, which is $1.3 million more than last time, which is a pretty substantial difference. The second major offender was import deliveries, sitting at $1.3 million, also more than double compared to our previous test. And naturally, when you increase your employee count to this much, health insurance follows along. This one climbed from $160,000 previously to just over $400,000 this time around. Now, all of this may sound like a huge drawback, but honestly, it's not. It's exactly what we should expect. We're operating more factories, producing more items, and pulling in way more raw materials. So expenses growing alongside production is completely normal. What matters is whether the revenue keeps up. And in our case, I think it did a pretty good job. Because in these same 18 in-game days, our total gross generated revenue came in at almost $15 million. It nearly doubled the results from the last video. And once we subtract all expenses, we're still left with $10.5 million in pure profit. So yes, the expenses look scary on the chart, but the profits are absolutely dwarfing them. And I hope that your charts are looking pretty similar to mine, because this is what a successful business looks like in general. So if you're early in your playthrough or just want a stable side business that doesn't require much babysitting, coffee and liquor are perfectly fine picks. Just go in with realistic expectations. They're not meant to impress, but rather support. And that's pretty much it for today's video. If you made it till the end, I would really appreciate if you showed that like button some love and perhaps subscribe to the channel for more content like this. These videos take a long time and a lot of planning to make, and your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for watching, hope this brought some clarity to the Drinks Factory, and as always, stay safe and I'll see you in the next one.